The migrant tsunami that is already deluging the European Union is on track to also swamp America. A huge nationwide refugee resettlement network is already in place to ramp up the escalation planned by the U.S. State Department for acceptance of United Nations designated migrants. A map of the United States produced by the State Department's Bureau of Population, Refugees and Migration, shown above, shows the areas where its contractor organizations are set up to bring the migrant wave to what the State Department propagandists calls welcoming communities. Organizations such as International Rescue Committee, U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, Church World Service, World Relief, Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service, and many more contractors receive hundreds of millions of tax dollars from the State Department, dues, Health and Human Services, HHS, Housing and Urban Development, HUD, as well as foundation grants, to bring in migrants designated as refugees by the UN High Commission for Refugees. Across the country, from Portland, Maine to Portland, Oregon, from Boston to San Diego, from Seattle to Miami, and dozens of points in between cities and towns are targeted to receive a flood of Muslim refugees from Syria, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Afghanistan, and other parts of Africa and the Middle East. It is not only our major coastal cities that are scheduled to be hit with an enormous influx of unfortunates from foreign lands, smaller heartland cities and towns, such as Sheboygan, Wise, Twin Falls, Idaho, Grand Forks, ND, Lexington, Kai, Thurlock, Calif, Spartanburg, SC, Abilene, Texas, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and many more, have also been targeted for their share of UN-assigned refugees. The Obama administration, besides proclaiming amnesty, unlawfully, by executive order, for the 12-20 million illegal aliens already in the United States, and doing everything possible to expand the legal and illegal migration flows to America, has already set in motion plans to surge an unspecified, open-ended number of Syrian refugees into the country, despite the fact that top intelligence officials have publicly testified that they have no way of vetting these individuals to be sure we are not admitting terrorists and other criminals. Notwithstanding these serious security concerns, the State Department is busily sending its officials hither and thither across the country to falsely assure local residents, as well as state and local government officials, that there is nothing to worry about. White House Deputy Press Secretary Eric Schultz said any refugees would be subject to the highest level of security checks, Bloomberg News reported on September 9. Other administration officials have made similarly unfounded claims. The refugee surge has started. It was Assistant Secretary of State Ann Richard, who heads the Bureau of Population, Refugees and Migration, PRM, that nearly a year ago announced the Obama plan to surge Syrian refugees into the United States. At a conference in Geneva, Switzerland, with UN High Commissioner for Refugees Antonio Guterres on December 9, 2014, Assistant Secretary Richard stated, "The United States accepts the majority of all referrals from around the world. Last year, we reached our goal of resettling nearly 70,000 refugees from nearly 70 countries. And we plan to lead in resettling Syrians as well. We are reviewing some 9,000 recent referrals from Syria. We are receiving roughly 1,000 new ones each month, and we expect admissions from Syria to surge in 2015 and beyond." More recently, during a joint press appearance in Berlin with German Foreign Minister Frank-Walter Steinmeier on September 20, Secretary of State John Kerry gave a further hint at what is to come, announcing the Obama administration's plan to dramatically increase the flow of refugees into the United States, citing specifically refugees from Syria. "I am pleased to announce today that the United States will significantly increase our numbers for refugee resettlement in the course of this next year and the year after," Kerry said. "Last year I think we were at 70,000, he noted, referring to refugees worldwide accepted by the United States. We are now going to go up to 85,000 with at least, and I underscore the at least. It is not a ceiling, it has a floor of 10,000 over the next year from Syria specifically, even as we also receive more refugees from other areas. And in the next fiscal year, we'll target 100,000, and if it is possible to do more, we'll do more. The refugee lobby. Completely under the radar of most Americans, a massive industry of tax-funded non-governmental organizations, NGOs, has built a nationwide network to lobby for admittance of ever-increasing numbers of migrants claiming refugee or asylum status. The State Department map of the United States referred to above provides a color-coded legend showing colored circles representing corresponding refugee contractor organizations designated by acronyms. We are providing below the actual names of the abbreviated organizations, as well as important background information on some of them. CWS Church World Service, Episcopal Migration Ministries, Ethiopian Community Development Council, Inc. HIAS Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, International Rescue Committee, LIS Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service, USCP U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, USCRI U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, WA World Relief. One of the most knowledgeable experts on our growing migrant/refugee crisis and the burgeoning refugee industry is Ankur Karan, editor of the very informative website Refugee Resettlement Watch, RRW. In a posting this past January on the above 9 biggies of the government-funded lobby, she wrote, "These are the 9 major contractors the U.S. State Department and the Office of Refugee Resettlement (HHS) fund. They call them voluntary agencies, FLAGs, which is such a joke considering the large amount of federal funding that flows to each one. They are approximately 350 subcontractors in 180 cities working under the 9 biggies." Utilizing the organization's financial statements from their publicly filed I-990 forms for 2012, the latest year for which many are available, Corcoran shows that these humanitarian groups are bilking taxpayers for over $1 billion per year, which does not include the billions in UZ that the State Department pours into the coffers and additional funding for the refugee programs of foreign regimes around the globe. Nor does it include, Corcoran points out, subsidized housing, most health care, food stamps, other cash assistance, educating the kids, or the costs to the criminal justice system. $1 billion. That buys a lot of votes and influence. But that was in 2012, and the refugee lobby's revenues have skyrocketed in the past couple of years. Take, for example, the granddaddy of the industry, the International Rescue Committee, IRC. Corcoran stated that in 2012 the IRC reported revenues of more than $456 million, of which $332 million, 73%, was provided by the taxpayers. Some of the other groups, while receiving substantially less revenue, are almost completely government-funded. USCRI, for example, received $39 million in 2012, of which 99% was taxpayer-funded, and LIS took in $43 million, of which 97% came from the taxpayers' pockets. However, IRC's revenues shot up from $456 million in 2012 to over $562 million for 2014, and undoubtedly will be even more for 2015, for which data is not yet publicly available. The IRC is politically and financially connected to Wall Street and the globalist establishment, especially as represented by the Council on Foreign Relations, CFR. Its board of directors and overseers lists such CFR heavyweights as Henry Kissinger, Madeleine Albright, Timothy Geithner, Winston Lord, Morton Abramowitz, Colin Powell, Condoleezza Rice, Tom Brokaw, W. Michael Blumenthal, Gideon Rose, and Felix Ratin, to name only a few. The Obama administration has been using this high-powered, bipartisan political muscle, combined with sympathetic media coverage and an astro-tough citizens lobby financed with over $1 billion annually, to project an image of popular consensus in favor of an ever-growing influx of UN refugees. As the administration's Refugee Express revs into high gear, this network of government-funded organizations will be playing a central role in promoting the UNCRE's transformative agenda. Fortunately, a genuinely grassroots opposition to this subversive agenda is developing all across the country, as shown recently, for instance, in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and Twin Falls, Idaho, where determined citizens are responsibly exposing the agenda, informing their fellow citizens, and putting federal, state, and local officials on notice that they will not stand for an EU-style dictatorship, where officials have recently declared they are assigning compulsory refugee quotas to each member nation of the European Union whether the people like it